Good morning and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you a bit of what a morning typically looks like on our small homestead in the summer months. Most of what I share here on my channel is in the kitchen, and I often hear from you all that you'd like to see more of the animals, chores, or what mornings look like around here, so that's what I'm going to be sharing with you today. Chores look a lot different for us in the summer than they do through fall and winter. We raise meat birds and pigs spring through early fall, so this time of year there are more animals to care for, but come the cooler months we just have our laying flock. So I find this time of year our day-to-day chores really don't take that long, maybe 10 to 15 minutes or so for the animals in the morning, assuming there's nothing big that needs to get done. What I find ends up taking a lot longer is the garden, especially when I have beds to hand water. For our laying flock, we have I think 16 hens and a rooster right now. We got 5 new barred rocks a couple months ago to add to the flock, but they haven't started laying yet, and they probably won't for another month and a half or so. We are really not getting that many eggs a day right now. A bunch of our hens are getting older and close to their retirement, and then we also have quite a few layers that lay pretty colors, but they don't lay as frequently. So I'm really looking forward to the barred rocks starting to lay. I've had to buy eggs a couple times in the past month, and I can't say that I love that, especially when we're already paying for chicken feed. This is our second year raising pigs, and I love having them around because nothing ends up going to waste. These pigs eat so well. They get lots of scraps from our kitchen. We have neighbors that give us scraps to give to them, and especially with having lots of fruit trees, anything fallen just goes straight to them. We're on our second batch of meat birds that we've done this year. It's only been about a week that these guys have been outside, out of the brooder, and I can't place why, but this batch has seemed to be so much more active than any of the previous batches that we have done. They've still got about a month to go, and then we will be done with meat birds for the year. Something that I keep seeing is people adding flowers to their garlic braids, so I wanted to try that this year. We've got a bit of yarrow that pops up at the back of the property, and I've just been cutting and drying it just to have around the house for dried flowers, but today I specifically cut a bit to try and incorporate into some garlic braids. From what I've gathered, they're woven in while they're fresh, so you don't need to dry them out first, so I'm gonna give that a try today and see how it goes. Now, typically in the mornings, I do all the animal chores first, and at that point, the sprinklers are done in the garden, and I can go ahead and harvest anything that I need to and get to weeding before it gets too hot to be comfortable outside. I also just kind of want to get everything done at once in the morning if I can, so I'm not coming outside, getting covered in dirt multiple times a day. We have just hit blackberry season the past few days, and the freezer is already filling up quickly with them. This year I planted both pole beans and bush beans, and for the pole beans, I just planted them on a couple arched trellises. I'm planning to pressure can beans this week, so I went ahead and pulled any of those that were ready to go this morning. My favorite variety of pole beans for preserving is Seychelles. I find that they hold up really well and they don't get too mushy through canning or freezing, so they have just become my go-to. My arch trellises were looking really pretty this year, and then a deer came through and decided to eat just the leaves off the front of one of them, but it was nice while it lasted. It's looking a little bit sad now. I did plant another bed of bush beans after pulling out our garlic a couple weeks ago, so we'll have a fall harvest of those as well, along with some more carrots, beets, and broccoli. I'm hoping the fall broccoli goes better than the spring broccoli did. I planted it in the same bed as our cabbage and used the same row cover I used last year for our cabbage to prevent bug damage, and I guess it was just too heavy for the broccoli. I'm not sure, it was my first year growing broccoli and it got super leggy. So I'm going to try that again. We'll see how it goes. We are about to have peppers coming in, which I'm so excited about. The Sugar Rush peach pepper plants are loaded this year, but I find these particularly take a long time to ripen. I'm not sure why, but I'm just constantly checking on them because they are my favorite, specifically for hot sauce. I'm really trying to stay on top of the garden by spending a bit of time out there every day. I'll be super on top of it for a while and then inevitably something happens, it gets neglected, and all of a sudden it's hours in the garden weeding to get it back on track. So I'm really trying to avoid that this year, and I've been doing a decent job. But one of the reasons why I wanted to plant zinnias right at the front of the garden is so that at least when you're looking at it from a distance, you see the zinnias and any weeds and all of that stuff just gets hidden. We also pulled some honey frames today. By we, I mean my husband, and we did end up losing a hive this year. So we have 3 hives now. We started out with 4. 2 of those hives are new this year. So things are looking a little bit slower on the honey front compared to this time last year, but we were able to pull some today and hopefully we'll be able to pull more in just a couple weeks here. This morning it was on my to-do list to get our garlic dealt with. It has been curing for a couple weeks, so I spent some time this morning just getting these all cleaned up, brushing off any dirt, trimming the roots, and I'm planning to braid a lot of my garlic this year. Technically it's faux braiding, it's hardneck garlic, so you can't actually braid it. And I just love doing this because it looks really pretty, but it's also functional. So for how I do it, I end up cleaning up the garlic, then I'll cut it, leaving maybe 6 to 8 inches of the stalk in place. To faux braid the hardneck garlic, you're essentially just tying it with twine. So I cut a long piece of twine and then I start by sitting 2 heads of garlic side by side on top of the twine. I'll double knot the twine over the stems, then place 1 head between the previous 2, double knot the twine again, cross the twine behind the garlic, then bring it back up to the front and then add 2 and continue on rotating between tying on 2 or 1 garlic head. There are great detailed videos on this. I'm still kind of figuring this out myself, so consider this more me sharing what I'm doing versus a proper tutorial. Once I have the full amount of garlic I want added to the braid, I wrap the remainder of the twine up the top of the stalks and tie it again. Now, this is a lot easier if you haven't fully let the garlic cure, so you have a little bit more bend in the stalk. I do let it fully cure because I don't want to risk it molding, but it makes the stalks just a bit harder to work with. So while the braid is coming together, I find the stalks are kind of all over the place until I tie the remainder of the twine up the top of the stalks and then it comes together. That's a peek at a morning on our small homestead in the summer months. Just daily animal chores, any harvesting that needs to get done, weeding, and in this case, dealing with all that garlic that has finished curing. Thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next video.